Hey, what's up everyone, Atlantis here, and in today's video, I've got a beginner's guide to Venomess specifically for players that are brand new to the game or haven't tried out Venomess yet. This video should get you in a good spot starting off. Venomess is a deadly spy from the maze who uses deadly chemicals to poison her enemies while also being able to heal her allies. She has a very good support toolkit that allows her to cover DPS and healing quite easily, then makes her an extremely competitive Wayfinder. The first thing you need to know is her passive ability, Master of Venoms, which applies stacks of venom to a target as you land weapon hits, and any weapon works for this. The venom can stack up to 5 times. These stacks of venom deal damage over time, and when you use weapon hits against a target with 5 stacks, a poison cloud will form that also deals damage and applies stacks of venom in an area. Essentially, as you use your weapon, you'll apply dot damage to your targets and forming poison clouds on the ground. Venomess is under the Survivalist archetype category, and the archetype mechanic is the Expose weakness. On a critical hit, exposes the enemy for 6 seconds, marking it for teammates. While exposed, enemies take an additional 10% damage from all sources. Your first ability, Transfusion, shoots a volley of poison needles that lock onto nearby enemies, dealing damage and healing nearby Wayfinders for a small amount, based on the number of stacks of venom from your passive ability on that target. So if you're trying to squeeze out any extra healing, make sure to hit targets first, stacking venom, and then follow up by using this ability. You can spec ability points into increased damage and healing, or even additional needles. Typically, you may want to save this ability for instances when you have to run away or have some downtime. Vampiric Blast is your second ability, in which you launch a bomb that absorbs up to 5 nearby poison clouds, dealing damage to enemies and healing yourself and allies in the radius based on the number of clouds absorbed. This is a great ability and when used correctly, can take down enemies quickly or heal you and your party a great amount. You can spec into increased damage and healing with an additional heal over time, which I like personally. One very important thing to remember when it comes to Vampiric Blast is always make sure to use the ability to absorb poison clouds on the ground. If you use this ability without poison clouds, the damage and healing will be much less and not as effective. Venom Thrusters is Ven's third ability, which operates as mobility or prep for your Vampiric Blast. Using this ability allows you to dash in a direction, leaving a trail of poison clouds behind that deal damage and apply stacks of venom from Ven's passive to enemies. Best ways to use this ability is by dashing through enemies, leaving clouds on them to deal damage and apply stacks of venom for your passive, followed by Transfusion, which will deal damage and provide healing because the target's venom stacks trigger the bonus healing effects of Transfusion, followed up by Vampiric Blast to absorb the clouds, dealing massive damage to enemies while healing yourself and others. You may want to leave the poison clouds on the ground for some time before using Vampiric Blast, as they provide damage over time, but if you're in need of a quick heal or quick burst damage to either health or break bar, then you can launch your Vampiric Blast at that point. If you're ever low on health, you can always just Thrusters and then Vampiric Blast on yourself in the clouds to heal back up, and is a very important combo sequence to master for efficient healing. You can spec ability points into increased poison clouds and damage reduction, which if playing melee works out quite nicely to buff your defense for a few seconds. Your ultimate and final ability is called Deep Breath, in which you fire a massive explosion that deals damage and applies 5 stacks of empowered venom to enemies. The empowered venom counts as additional stacks of venom from your passive and boosts your transfusion healing effects because of this. You can also spec into increased damage for your ultimate as well as healing if you choose. Next up is the Affinity section, and for Affinity points, I'd always recommend picking up the Tier 1 perks for Instinct and Focus to start, as those are very beneficial to your overall DPS. The remaining perks can be chosen based on preference or even Affinity stat increases. The Deadly Venom perk increases your poison damage by 5%, and the Explosive Venom perk adds a small damage burst to Ven's passive when proccing a cloud by hitting a target with 5 venom stacks with your weapon. Soothing Vapors in the Discipline tree heals Venomous a small amount when standing in poison clouds, and the Tier 2 perk launches 3 small healing lurchers when proccing a poison cloud. Lastly, the Focus Tier 1 perk increases crit chance against poison targets by 10%, which is huge, and the Tier 2 perk will proc an additional poison cloud when you crit against an enemy and can only occur once every 6 seconds. In general, try to bait enemies into your poison clouds by standing them as ranged or melee, which does damage to them, and depending on your affinity choices will add more damage or healing while making it easy to land Vampiric Blast on enemies and yourself at the same time. One of the great things about Venomous is that you have pretty good mobility with normal dashes plus Venom Thrusters, which can be used as an additional way of movement if you're ever out of stamina. Venomous can play melee or ranged well without downtime to set up abilities, and her healing allows players to play more aggressive at times where other Wayfinders might not. The ability to heal others around her makes Venomous an excellent pickup for group play as well. Aesthetically, Venomess sports different style canisters and tubes that house the deadly chemicals she's known for. If you're looking to play a Wayfinder that can fill both offensive and support roles, then Venomess would be a great pick for you. And if you're looking for more in-depth Venomess guides like builds, stats, and weapons, be sure to check out my Venomess build videos. That does it for the beginner's guide. Don't forget to subscribe for all things Wayfinder. Wish you all the best and see you in the next one.